joining us today. This short 15-minute demonstration will cover at a very high level and in a summary fashion some of the more important functionalities that are present in Datatrak's EDC. I will open for questions at the end of the demonstration if there are any, so please hold those for the end of the presentation. Okay, so let's begin. Our EDC is part of a single sign-on enterprise platform, but today we're here to look at specifically those functionalities that are available in the EDC. And to start off with, we're going to cover how information is brought to you, the end user, how you are able to view and visualize information in the system before we drill down into some more casebook level functionalities. So for starters, we are in an EDC study that you see here, and we are on the dashboard. This is each user's personal space within the system, and it can be very easily reconfigured and tailored to suit each user's specific needs. From the Widgets menu here, I can very easily add new tools that are not currently displayed in my dashboard to my dash. In addition, any ad hoc reports that have been designed and I have access to can also be added to my dashboard. I'll drag one of these over here just for demonstration purposes. But as you can see, with drag and drop functionality, I can very easily rearrange this space to suit my needs. Before proceeding, I want to point out a couple of important widgets here. The confirm shipment widget we'll come back to in a moment, but this is part of our trial supply management functionality and can be used to confirm shipments that have arrived at a site. The My Checklist widget has bearing on the managers that we're about to examine. This allows me to store saved searches into the various repositories that make up the EDC itself, giving me a count of the number of records that fulfill my criteria, as well as a hyperlink to very easily drill down into this information. So, for example, if I wanted to see all forms that are ready to be SDV'd, I'm only a click away from navigating into that manager with the appropriate filters applied so that I can see those forms that are ready to have SDV applied. So let's talk about managers. Managers are these items running along across the top of your screen here. Bear in mind that our entire platform is role-based. So every element of the system, every tool, as well as the components of patient casebooks that are visible to each individual user are dependent on roles and are themselves highly configurable. But let's talk about managers for a moment. This is a manager, a simple, easy to understand tabular interface for visualizing data at a high level. Now, these managers are fairly powerful reporting tools in and of themselves. Each of these columns can be sorted and filtered in a variety of ways, depending on the data they display. I can use drag and drop functionality to easily rearrange the ordering of any of these columns or to pull them over into the filters menu here. This means additionally that all these filters that we provide for drilling down into your data can also be pulled over into the manager itself. So if I wanted to see, for example, the query status associated with each of these patient casebooks, I can very easily pull that over. Now, once I have drilled down into the information I'm looking for, that's what enables me to report on these managers, because from the Actions menu, I have access to CSV or Excel exports from any of these managers. Additionally, if I'm going to be using a particular view of information regularly, Save Search down here at the bottom allows me to provide a name to this particular data view so that it can be easily accessed as one of those checklists we were just looking at. So let's talk very briefly about the managers available themselves. So the Patients Manager is tracking casebooks and associated statuses across those entire casebooks. The Forms Manager, on the other hand, allows me to review much of the same information, but at an individual form level. So, for example, if I wanted to see only those forms associated with adverse events, I can again very easily drill down into the specific information I need to see. Again, running along the top here, User Tasks is associated with our imaging adjudication workflows that we'll touch on later. Questions, queries. Queries are those manually generated edit checks, as opposed to, in our system, we call system generated edit checks alerts. Query management can be done from the manager level because each of these provides a variety of associated actions depending on the information that you're looking at, depending on the manager we've accessed. So if I want to open queries, close them in batch, I can do so from here at the manager level. Returning to my previous role and continuing down the list, we have our Audits Managers. Our audits track all user activity in the system at both a question, form, and patient level. So question audits are tracking all data changes, all status changes with regards to those data points. Form audits are tracking form creation events, as well as metadata statuses applied to forms like frozen. And then patient audits, which are responsible for tracking patient statuses like activation or other tracked patient statuses like screening or randomization. Continuing down the list, we have our Codes Manager. I'll touch on in just a little bit our auto-coding functionalities, as well as the Synonyms Manager, which is used in tandem with the Codes Manager to create synonyms for your medical dictionaries. And then our Shipments and Schedule Manager, which are part of our randomization and trial supply management system, tracking shipments that are moving throughout the system in the course of a study. So each of these managers can be used to generate exports, but we also have a General Exports Manager. And these are our standard export formats: text, Excel, SAS, Esubmission, PDF, and PDF archive. These can all be added to jobs. They can be accessed with our open APIs. And running them from this screen will run them across all patient records at this site. However, we can also perform targeted exports in the following fashion. If I switch over to my data manager role and select export data subset, I can choose one or more patients to perform an export on. And then on the following screen, after choosing the appropriate export, I can also select a subset of the patient casebook itself. Perhaps I only want visit 1. But for now, let's go ahead and export the entire casebook. The export will run in the background, so you can continue working in the system. And when it's finished, the result will be provided to you here. So let's take a brief look at the Esubmission Pdf Export. We'll open up one of these casebooks, and you will see this is the Esubmission PDF. Everything is nicely bookmarked, so you can very easily navigate throughout the casebook. Everything is hyperlinked, so if I want to review the audits for a particular question, I'm only a click away from drilling down into that element of the Esubmission PDF. So let's go ahead and close these out, and we'll head on to reports. So opening up the reports menu here, we can see all of our standard reports. I'm going to cover a few of these and touch on the ad hoc reporting tool. The first of these is the trial summary report. This collects a variety of useful metrics regarding questions with the most queries or alerts, potentially identifying training issues or problems with the understandability of your casebook design. And beneath this, we have the site summary. This is collecting a variety of useful metrics regarding tracked patient and form statuses. We can review query aging metrics and average time to closure. Same thing with alerts. Alerts over 7 days and 14 days, along with average closure time, visits behind, and visits expected. All of these standard reports can be added to jobs to be run on a scheduled basis, and they can also be exported to text or Excel to get a distributable copy of these reports. Next up is the missing forms report. This useful report allows you to, as part of your study design, specify which forms should be completed after other forms and within what time windows. And in doing so, this report is allowing you to identify forms that are expected but not yet completed, alongside information like how many days they're overdue, and how many days and what percentage have been entered within the expected window. Continuing on to the averages report, This report collects a variety of useful statistics regarding how long it is taking us to move between different track statuses in the system. This can be useful for assessing how long it's taking to move from data entry to SDV, or to analyze any other particular cycle times within the course of your trial conduct. And then lastly, I briefly want to show off the ad hoc reporting manager. So from here, we're able to create our own reports on the fly. By providing a name, I'm then given access to every data point within the patient casebook to design a report. We can create formula fields. We can add filters, sorts, and parameters. We can select from a variety of output options, including our standard export formats, as well as a variety of graphic display formats. And then lastly, we can configure the permissions associated with this particular report. So now let's head over to a casebook and look at some features that appear at that level of the system. Now, Casebook design functionality is fairly ubiquitous across EDC systems, so I won't at length talk about our trial design tools, save to say that our system allows powerful cross-form and cross-visit edit checks. We can implement highly complex branching logic and display conditions for both questions and forms. But what I'd like to target instead are some special functionalities that we have present within our EDC, and more specifically, they are built within our EDC. They are part of the same tool set built internally to live within the EDC itself. So the first of these is randomization. We have randomization and trial supply management in our system, and provided I have permission to, I can at any time check the randomization status for this patient, and the system will tell me what remains to be completed before the patient can be randomized. These can be data points, or they can be things like, are there any open queries on this casebook? Please complete them before randomizing. So I'm going to fulfill this criteria, and you'll see now I can randomize this patient. And doing so is a very simple process. I confirm this, and I'm provided with a randomization receipt. This information can be automatically populated in your casebook. And similar to randomization, drug assignment works in exactly the same way. I can assign a drug from the actions menu here and submit. And this action will automatically decrement these drug kits from the site supply. And if they trigger a resupply event, the Shipments Manager will automatically create a resupply shipment for that site. When the shipment arrives, that is when the investigator can come into the system and confirm that those shipments are received from here. They can mark any of them as received, missing, or broken, and document any problems with that shipment. Now, returning to a different casebook, I briefly want to highlight medical coding in the system. So opening up an adverse event form, you can see we have a coded term here. The system will automatically code these terms based on medical dictionaries that can be uploaded to the EDC. In the event that a term entered is not recognized by the dictionary, that's when the appropriate users can enter the coding manager, and with the appropriate role, they can manually code these terms by searching the dictionary using wildcard searches and finding the correct term in the medical dictionary. Now, if issues are occurring regularly, like you have an investigator that always spells heart attack without a space, that's where the Synonyms Manager comes into play. And you can create that link between that misspelled term and the correct dictionary term so that the system will routinely recognize that going forward. Now, the last element I wanted to show you before we run out of time is imaging and adjudication. This is a unique feature that we have built directly into our EDC. I'm going to navigate over to a different study that's configured for image data capture to walk through this process. We have here the DICOM summary. This is where DICOM images are uploaded into the patient casebook. And the idea here is that the system is provided with an image file. We ingest that image and capture that data contained in the image in your ECRF. Any appropriate information is anonymized in this process. And once that image is uploaded, the appropriate user can then begin the adjudication process. And the way this looks is, in this setup, is a reader facilitator can be assigned who then designates who will review, the readers that will review these images. In this configuration, we have 2 readers with a 3rd tiebreaker if needed. But this can be scaled all the way up to 5 potential readers with 2 tiebreakers if necessary. Now, once those readers are assigned, they will automatically receive user tasks in our user tasks manager here. So they'll get a notification that they have an image to review, and they will not see any of the patient casebook that they should not see unless they have been designated, unless they have been granted permission to do so. They'll also be blinded from each other's assessments in this process. If I open up this adjudication outcome form, we can see the results of this workflow that's baked into the system. This particular image is completed with 3 assessments, but we can see the other statuses that are possible. In the event that 2 assessments are provided, but agreement is reached, consensus agreement is reached, then this particular DICOM image will be completed with 2 assessments. The 3rd adjudicator's assessment form is only created, the task is only created at the point where the tiebreaker is needed. And scrolling down here, we can see that the system is displaying both the results of those adjudications, but also whether or not consensus was reached. And that, in brief, is a very brief overview of some of the high-level functionalities that are available in our EDC. Thanks for sitting with us through this demonstration. And if anyone has any questions, please post them into the Zoom chat log. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.